What if I told you that one of history's most influential stories about rebellion and fall from grace never actually appears in the Bible, the way most people think it does? The tale of Lucifer's dramatic plunge from heaven has captivated human imagination for over 2,000 years. Yet its origins are far more complex and fascinating than you might expect. This story doesn't belong to a single time period or geographical location. Instead, it's a narrative that evolved across multiple cultures, spanning ancient Mesopotamia, Israel, early Christian communities, and medieval Europe. The name Lucifer itself comes from Latin, meaning light bearer or morning star, and was first used in the Roman Vulgate Bible around 400 CE. The key players in this cosmic drama aren't just divine beings, but also ancient scribes, translators, poets, and theologians who shaped how we understand this tale today. The story we know combines elements from Jewish folklore, Christian theology, Islamic tradition, and medieval literature, creating a narrative that's both universal and uniquely complex. To understand Lucifer's fall, we must journey back to ancient Israel, around the 6th century BCE. The prophet Isaiah wrote about the fall of a Babylonian king, using poetic imagery of a morning star falling from heaven. Isaiah chapter 14 describes this king's arrogance. "How you have fallen from heaven, morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations." This passage wasn't originally about a supernatural being. Isaiah was using metaphorical language to mock Babylon's ruler, comparing his downfall to a star losing its brightness and crashing to earth. The morning star, Venus, was visible just before dawn, but disappeared as the sun rose, making it a perfect symbol for someone who seemed powerful but ultimately fell. Centuries later, Jewish writers began expanding on themes of rebellious angels. The Book of Enoch, written between 300 and 100 BCE, tells of angels called Watchers who descended to earth and corrupted humanity. These weren't fallen through pride like Lucifer, but through lust and disobedience. Enoch describes their leader, Azazel, teaching humans forbidden knowledge of warfare and cosmetics. Early Christian theologians transformed these scattered references into a cohesive narrative. Church fathers like Origen and Jerome in the 3rd and 4th centuries began connecting Isaiah's fallen morning star with Satan, the adversary mentioned in Job and the Gospels. They reasoned that if Satan existed as God's enemy, he must have fallen from a previously exalted position. Jerome's Latin translation proved crucial when he encountered the Hebrew phrase Helel ben Shahar, meaning shining one, son of dawn. He translated it as Lucifer, the Roman name for Venus, as the morning star. This single translation choice would echo through centuries, giving the fallen angel his most famous name. The story gained dramatic detail during the medieval period. Paradise Lost, John Milton's epic poem from 1667, crystallized our modern understanding of Lucifer's rebellion. Milton portrayed him as heaven's most beautiful angel, second only to God in power and glory. His famous line, "Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven," captures the essence of prideful rebellion that defines the character. Milton's Lucifer wasn't content with his exalted position. He questioned why he should serve God when he possessed such magnificent abilities himself. The poet describes a cosmic war where Lucifer rallied 1/3 of heaven's angels to his cause, believing they could overthrow the divine order and establish their own kingdom. But Milton was writing literature, not theology. His vivid descriptions of 9-day battles in heaven and elaborate hierarchies of demons came from his imagination, influenced by classical mythology and Renaissance art. Yet his version became so influential that many people today assume it represents ancient religious truth. Islamic tradition offers a different perspective on this fall. In the Quran, the figure called Iblis refuses to bow before Adam when commanded by Allah. His rebellion stems not from wanting to overthrow God, but from pride in his own creation. Made from fire, Iblis considers himself superior to Adam, who was formed from clay. This refusal leads to his expulsion from paradise and his role as humanity's tempter. The name Iblis itself comes from the Greek diabolos, meaning slanderer or accuser. Islamic scholars developed elaborate stories about Iblis's former righteousness and his dramatic transformation into humanity's greatest enemy. Some traditions describe him as once being so devout that he was elevated to live among the angels, making his fall even more tragic. Archaeological evidence reveals how ancient Mesopotamian cultures influenced these narratives. Tablets from Babylon and Assyria describe conflicts between gods, rebellious divine beings, and the establishment of cosmic order through divine warfare. The Enuma Elish, Babylon's creation epic, tells of younger gods rebelling against their elders, themes that echo in later Jewish and Christian literature. One fascinating aspect is how different cultures interpreted the morning star symbol. Ancient Greeks knew Venus as both Phosphoros, the dawn bringer, and Hesperos, the evening star, not realizing they were the same celestial body. This duality of light and darkness, beauty and terror, perfectly suited the character of a fallen angel who retained his magnificent appearance despite his corrupted nature. Early Christian art struggled to depict Lucifer's fall. Byzantine mosaics showed him as a beautiful angel even after his rebellion, emphasizing that evil could appear attractive. Medieval artists gradually developed the horned, demonic imagery we recognize today. But this evolution took centuries and varied significantly across different regions and artistic traditions. The story's impact on human culture extends far beyond religious belief. It provided a framework for understanding rebellion, the corrupting nature of pride, and the tragic consequences of challenging legitimate authority. Political leaders throughout history have been compared to Lucifer, from Roman emperors to modern dictators who seemed to promise liberation but delivered tyranny. Literary works across centuries have explored themes of noble rebellion versus destructive pride. From Marlowe's Dr. Faustus to modern science fiction, the Lucifer archetype represents the brilliant individual whose abilities lead to devastating overreach. The story asks fundamental questions about free will, the nature of evil, and whether rebellion can ever be justified. Modern scholarship reveals how this narrative evolved through translation, interpretation, and cultural adaptation. What began as a prophet's poetic condemnation of a political enemy became a cosmic explanation for the existence of evil. Each generation added layers of meaning, creating a story that speaks to universal human experiences of ambition, failure, and consequence. Psychologists have analyzed the Lucifer narrative as representing the shadow side of human achievement. The drive for excellence that creates great art, science, and leadership can become destructive when it refuses to acknowledge limits or accountability. This psychological reading explains why the story resonates, even with those who don't share its religious origins. The transformation of morning star to fallen angel demonstrates how stories evolve through human retelling. Ancient metaphors become literal beliefs, poetic imagery transforms into theological doctrine, and cultural fears shape how we interpret ancient texts. Understanding this process reveals as much about human nature as it does about the story itself. Today, the Lucifer narrative continues influencing art, literature, and popular culture. Television shows, novels, and films regularly reinterpret this ancient story, often portraying Lucifer as a sympathetic character, questioning divine authority. These modern versions reflect contemporary concerns about rebellion, authority, and the complex nature of good and evil. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Lucifer's story is how it emerged from humanity's attempt to understand the origins of evil and suffering. Rather than accepting that bad things simply happen, ancient peoples created narratives that provided meaning and explanation. The fallen angel became a way to preserve belief in divine goodness while acknowledging the reality of evil in the world. This story of cosmic rebellion and catastrophic fall continues to fascinate because it addresses timeless questions about power, pride, and the consequences of our choices. Whether viewed as religious truth, psychological metaphor, or cultural artifact, the tale of Lucifer's rise and fall remains one of humanity's most enduring explorations of what happens when ambition exceeds wisdom and pride overcomes humility.